Namaste, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We just ended a series, those of you that have been with me, based on the kleshas. And the kleshas are something that's written in the book of the Yoga Sutras, which is all of philosophy compiled together. And really the philosophy is psychology. It's really about getting your mind right. And we went over all 5 of those in a 5-week series. And it's based on finding the root cause of your suffering and understanding what that is and how to work with it. Last week, after we finished that series, we talked about the vagus nerve. We also talked about the full moon and lunar eclipse that we had over the weekend. When we're talking about the vagus nerve, we need to have a healthy vagal tone in order to be able to fluctuate and flow back and forth between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is where we can get triggered and go to fight, flight, freeze. It's our kind of active state. It's our stressed state, but it's been on overdrive. And so we need to be able to shift gears and move into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is where we are calmer and more relaxed and more responsive instead of reactive. And it's where we can rest and digest. Okay, I wanted to recap that because I'm still kind of on this trajectory of how yoga can help with, the negative stuff that we face in life. And so what we're going to talk about today is something called the pain body. Did anyone ever read Eckhart Tolle's book, The New Earth? It came out like 20 years ago. But it's still a very popular book if you like self-help kind of books. He's a motivational speaker. He's a spiritual leader. He's written The Power of Now. He's written The New Earth. He may have written more. Those are the only 2 books that I've read of his. He's a quirky little man. And it's fun to listen to him talk because you're just wanting him to finish a sentence. And he'll just sit there and there's these long, drawn-out pauses. That's part of his presence, it's part of his teachings, is to sit with it, be with it, be patient, be present, be in the now. So in that book, he talks about the pain body, and I wasn't sure where I was going this week, but it showed up. I'm doing, did a master Reiki training, and it was for 12 weeks. We met every other week, so we met 6 times within a 12-week period. And I just graduated over the weekend, and we had 2 different groups going on. There was a group that was meeting on Sunday and a group of us that was meeting on Fridays. And so the graduation, we all came together. And luckily, most everyone in that group had to switch at one point or another from a Friday to a Sunday or from a Sunday to a Friday because of our schedules. And so we were able to already know and meet each other and hear a little bit about each other's story. So it wasn't just a band of strangers coming together on Saturday. We all kind of were in this training together. We were on text threads together, and we knew a little bit about each other. But there was a common theme that happened over the weekend. And maybe it was the full moon, because full moon is an amplification of emotions. And emotions can get triggered with eclipses even. But what I noticed was, out of all the women, there was 11 of us total. 6 women were married. 4 of them, through this training, have had major issues coming up in their marriage. And so we were talking about it on Saturday. I mean, one woman actually came in just an emotional wreck. And she finally calmed down and she opened up to us. But the common thread was these women have been doing a lot of this self-help work. They're not just learning how to facilitate Reiki. This program was also opening us up, talking about our journey of healing, talking about how we can help other people on their journey of healing. And it was opening up our intuition more. So going through this training, you start to feel more empowered, right? You feel more empowered because you're healing your wounds and you're coming into your own and you're coming into the sense of who you are more fully. And then you're able to tap into these intuitive gifts and put it into practice. Okay? So the husbands were feeling very threatened by this. They didn't like the fact that their wives were taking time out of already their busy schedule to do this Reiki training, right? To work on their intuitive gifts, to go through this healing process. And so it was like, push a button, push a button, push a button, push a button. And one lady spoke up and says, I see the pattern. The pattern is he comes home every night from work, he sits in front of the TV and he opens up his beer, he starts to drink, he starts to get mad at me, he starts to yell at me. And my pattern is, I try to fix it. I try to love on him. I try to create peace in the home. And then halfway through the training, she realized I'm playing a role in this. And so she decided to stop the extra loving, giving, being affectionate, and trying to make you happy. She just decided, okay, that's your stuff. I'm gonna go hang out with kids. I'm gonna go read my homework assignments. I'm gonna go do something that brings me some joy because she's standing in her power. That pissed him off more, right? And then a couple weeks later, he comes back and says, wait a minute, I'm noticing something. You've changed. She was like, yeah, this is the pattern I've recognized, and I'm not playing that role anymore. And guess what? His behavior turned around. He quit opening up the beer. He quit sitting in front of the TV and opening up a book. And he started being nice to her. Now, it didn't last. It went right back into it, the old pattern again. But you have to go through the patterns and notice the patterns in order to break the cycle. That's my point. And so, yes, it may be that person, but how are we participating in it? And this can show up in relationships, especially if you live with someone. And it may show up around moon cycles. Pay attention to when it shows up. Usually it's a spark of something that disrupts the happiness with the person, and they start to run with their emotion, which takes over their mind, and then it becomes an outward expression or an argument or a fight. So this is what Eckhart Tolle talks about in the book, The New Earth. He says, every one of us has a pain body, and it's steeped in negative emotion or impressions from the past. And it may not be the same person in front of us or the same thing playing out, but we can get triggered. So he says, recognize when you get contracted. Recognize when you start to feel resistance. Recognize when you start to feel a little taste of that unhappiness, and notice what you're doing with it. So can you sit with it? Can you recognize it as, that's my pain body? Instead of running with it, use the tools that you learn on the mat, using your breath work, being present with it so that you're not pushing it away. I mean, feel it, but recognize it for what it is, so that you're not kind of more or less vomiting on everybody else around you. Easier said than done sometimes, because we're emotional people. But the pain body is the emotional expression of the ego. And we're trying to bring ourselves into a higher vibration so that that part of the ego is not running the show. So there's the lesson for today, talking about pain body. It's a great book if you ever want to check it out. So we're going to get right into pigeon. We're going to get right into it. I know. Did I hear that? Is that you?
Yes.
So in pigeon, your left knee is going to be angled to the left instead of to the front of the rib. Your foot is out ahead of the right thigh, and you're squaring the hips. Yes, and if you have a tendency to flop onto the outer left thigh, look at what Heather has done. She's placed a block underneath. You can place a blanket or a bolster if you need that. Otherwise, we're going to come on
And I mentioned some people like to have a bolster to lay on. You may want to come to rest on forearms or prayer hands. You may want to scale all the way down to the third eye or the forehead. Close your eyes. And just as we typically center at the beginning of the yoga practice, see if you can center while still feeling all this eruption of sensation. Focus on your breath. Manage your breath. It's okay to have an equal measured breath where the inhale and the exhale are about the same length or duration. But if you have a hard time letting go, if you're feeling loads of resistance to this pose or just internally, then focus on elongating your out breath. Perhaps making it twice as long as your in-breath. Soften your facial muscles and your jaw. If the sensation lessens, then feel free to spill down more. If the sensation increases, you may want to back away. Hold it for 3 more breaths. Walk your hands in. Walk your hands in. Somewhat frame that front knee, but keeping the hand shoulder distance apart. Curl the back toes under, and then we're going to step back to downward facing dog. Align your feet so that the toes are separated about 4 to 5 inches. You're gazing into that space in between. You're really powering down through your palms, elongating through your arms and the spine, and sailing your feet skyward, regardless if the knees need to be bent. And then we're going to stay on this left side. Maybe feel some of that tingly sensation from your hip down to your heel compared to the right. We're going to inhale, lift the left leg halfway up. Keep the hips square. Keep the shoulders level and even, and push up and out through the heel of that foot. Now begin to point the toes on the left foot and scissor the leg higher. Notice how that hip starts to turn open, and go ahead and bend the top knee and kind of spin through the shoulders. Look up underneath the left arm to what we call downward scorpion. We've been in Scorpio energy. The sun has been there. Mars and Mercury has been there. And that's one reason the energy's been so intense lately. Go ahead and unroll the hips and launch the left foot all the way forward and up in between your hands. Once you have the feet established, we're going to bring both arms up into crescent. Now stabilize the front knee by really grounding down through the mound of the front big toe. Fly the fingertips skyward. And then slowly lower your left hand down to your hip or waist. Now go ahead and soar up a little bit more through the right side body. If it's in your wheelhouse, maybe strike a little bit of a back bend here. Releasing the psoas. The psoas is where we tend to keep some of those unprocessed or embedded emotions. Now let's bring the right hand gently down, plant it firmly. Sweep the left arm out and up towards the heavens. Pluck up your back thigh so you're not dragging down into your hips. Exhale, take that left hand, fan it up underneath the left leg and bow the head. Inhale, open back up. Exhale, thread and lift the arm under, chin to chest. Inhale, one more, open up your throat, lengthen through the neck. Pause here, breathe here. And then exhale, lower the left hand down. Step into your plank. Pause here in plank. Streamline shoulders, elbows, wrists. Thighs are firm, belly is firm. Tip forward, lower down to Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, blossom the heart open. Exhale, rock and roll back over the toes. Now notice the alignment of your feet. If they're too wide or too narrow, bring it back so there's just like 4 inches or so in between them. Notice if you're rounding the tailbone down, shoot it up and back, up and back. That's it. Nice job. And then we're going to bring the right knee to the front side of the mat, just behind your right wrist, making sure that it's facing the edge of the mat. Slide your left leg back. We're going to marinate here for a little bit. We're going to juice up these hip joints. Any type of poses that work into the joints can bring some of that synovial fluid back. As we age, it gets a little drier, which is one reason our joints have a little bit of pain or achiness. Of course, that could also be inflammation as well due to diet. I've noticed that sugar always makes my joints hurt now, and I can't stand it because sugar. But dairy can do that. I heard tomatoes can. Is that true? Does anybody know that?
It's individual.
It's individual. Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That would really make me sad if that was across the board. Again, turn back to your breath. Fully be present with your shape, with the sensation. Is it more or less or similar to the previous side? Our relationships do tend to show up if we're having difficulty in this area of the body. The left side's the feminine side, the right side's the masculine. It may be different for you, but every time I have an issue with the female, it shows up left. If it's a male, it shows up right. Control your breath. Maybe on this side, considering if you've been noticing eating patterns, and maybe taking a moment to look within at your own reflection within your own heart to discover, are you playing part in that? Take a few more breaths. Stretches can help bring some pliability into these areas that tend to be a little more stiff. I want you to consider the affirmation for this pose when you start to exit out. On your next in-breath, slowly start to rise. We'll pause, standing on the palms. And the affirmation is, I rise above the past and the future to the eternal moment of the now. Curl the back toes up under, step it back down. Just let that flush out. Yes, the energy running rampantly now from the right hip down to the right heel. It's nice to take pause to feel the effect of the earlier position. On your next inhale, lift your right leg halfway up. Notice how sometimes we rock into the shoulders and shift towards our hands. So power back away from your wrists. And then inhale, point the toes, scissor the legs, open up the right hip, maybe bend the top knee, take downward scorpion, maybe looking up underneath that right arm. Feel that stretch through the inner left thigh. And when you're ready, unroll that hip. Step the right foot forward and up between the hands. Get your feet established with a firm foundation first. And then inhale, climb up to crescent lunge. At first, we're going to take both arms up to frame the face. And then we're going to take the right hand down to hold the waist or hip. Reach the left arm skyward and maybe strike a little bit of a back bend. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Just enough to feel the extra length that you're gaining through the psoas. One more deep breath. And then exhale, take your time, landing your left hand, free up your right, because we're going to inhale, sweep it up towards the sky. Good. Exhale, thread and lift the arm under, bow the head in. You do that a couple more rounds. This time when you open up to the twist, maintain. Affirming here, I am a fountain of boundless energy and power. When you step into your power, remember, some people get threatened by that. Don't allow them to disempower you. Bring the right hand down, springboard the back foot forward, and just go ahead and drop it. Uttanasana. The legs can be straight or knees bent. Magnetize the heart a little lower towards your knees. Let go in your neck and shoulders. So we open up the hamstrings a little bit with downward facing dog. Want to hold this for just a couple more breaths since the hips and hamstrings tend to be tighter earlier in the day. Think about the pain body here with the affirmation. Nothing and no one on this earth can hold me down or back, not even my pain body. That's part of the ego, and the state of yoga goes beyond the ego. Now root down to come all the way up. And exhale, bring hands home to the heart. All right, we're going to start to get to some sun salutations. We're going to do the B variation. So we're bending the knees, sinking the hips back, taking the arms, extend through the side body. Good. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway up or arch up. Exhale, you can step to plank and lower to chaturanga, or you can just bounce straight back to chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing. Exhale to downward facing dog. Good. On your next inhale, let your right leg lift. Halfway or scissor, whatever you prefer. Then step the foot all the way through between the hands. Good. Offset your back foot. Anchor it down and come up to warrior one. Warrior one aligns the knee over the front ankle. And then as you exhale, we're going to take the cactus arms and open the heart. Okay, we're going to flow here. Inhale, straight back, straight arms. Good. Exhale, lean back. Continue. Feel free to use that Ujjayi breath. 2 more. That half is really on fire. Whew, I went hiking over the weekend. Feeling it. Inhale, warrior one. Hold, chin parallel to the floor. Exhale, hands down. Spin away from the back heel, back to the toes. Right foot plank. Exhale, tip forward, lower down to chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, roll it on back. Head is going to hang between the arms. Breath stays nice and full. Switching to the other side now, lift the left leg, halfway or scissor. Step it all the way up. Offset your back foot, apply the pressure to it so that you can easily bring your trunk up. Roll the right hip towards the front side of the room. Nice. Exhale, hang back. And then we'll continue that flow of movement. Draw the navel in and up when you come to center. Expand the belly as you lean back. Now hold warrior one the regular way. Gaze straight ahead with your eyes. Exhale, hands down. Spin away from the back heel. Go ahead and springboard the back foot forward. Arch up halfway. Exhale, lower all the way. Feeling a little bit more warmed up to the back of the legs, I hope. Inhale, Utkatasana. Fierce pose. Exhale, hands down. We're going to do a couple more of those flows. A little bit different this time though. Inhale, take the chair. Exhale, straight legs and release. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale to chaturanga dandasana. You can jump back or you can step to plank first and lower. And then maneuver through the vinyasa. Now we're going to start with the left leg first this time. Left leg's going to lift halfway or scissor, your choice. Step it through. Plant the back foot down. You're still doing warrior one. Virabhadrasana. However, we're gonna lace the hands behind the back. If you don't like lacing the hands together, if that's disruptive to your shoulders, you're gonna cross your arms like I just did. And you can still do humble warrior this way, okay? So you can do one or the other, but we're hinging right to the inside of the left knee and bow your head. Inhale, root the feet and rise. Good, exhale, humble the warrior. Again, inhale. Exhale, and this time pause. Pause in the pose, but continue to breathe. And release the hands to frame the front foot, spin away from the back heel. Step it into your plank. Shift forward and lower to chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. On your next in breath, we're going to fly the right leg up. Halfway or scissor. Step it through to the front. Offset your back foot. Come on up, warrior one. So because we're going to be doing a flow, it's important to focus feet first, leg second, hips third. Because the upper body's going to move. And then once you have that set in place, discover, do I want to cross my arms the other way or lace the hands? Pop open the door of the heart. Exhale. Humble warrior. And then we're going to flow. Inhale, draw it up. Exhale, take it down. Inhale, build it up. Exhale, this time, hover and hold. You're letting the head go because what we're trying to do here is drain the energy and the blood flow towards the third eye, towards that pineal gland, towards the crown. And the pineal gland is also involved in the emotional center of the brain. Exhale, release your hands. Spin out of your back heel. Go ahead and step the back foot forward, lift halfway upon arrival. Exhale, close in. So since we've been warming up a little bit more, I want you to cross your arms behind your legs and then just slide them down your calves. Perhaps the belly even touches your thighs. It's okay if it doesn't, but it is a possibility. It is okay to keep the knees bent if it's too much to have the legs perfectly straight. However, if your knees are bent, I still want you to allow the sits bones to lift. Okay, doesn't mean you have to perfectly straighten your legs, but it's going to create more extension and work the hamstrings. Now bow the head, let go of your neck. Good, inhale, take chair, Utkatasana. And exhale, hands to heart. All right, we're gonna do one more flow. Okay, inhale, Utkatasana, your chair. Exhale, fold over straight legs. Inhale, look up and down. Exhale, step to plank and lower, or you can bounce back. Inhale, up, down. Exhale to downward. And this time, when we step the right foot forward, we're not going to plant the back foot. Instead, we're going to take the left elbow to the outer edge of that knee. Hands to prayer position at the heart. And we're dialing the heart towards the thumbs. So Terry, oh no, you were right with the legs. Oh, it was just where you were spiraling in the twist. Yeah. Good, exhale, and drop the back knee, untuck the back toes, and allow your hips to sink and settle. All right, your left hand's gonna come to your hip. You're gonna keep your hips heavy, and you're gonna lift your left arm up. Kind of like what we did in the crescent lunge. So we're lengthening the left side, maybe taking a little bit of a back bend if you have the stability and the range of motion. Keep the spine more erect if you don't. Again, we're releasing the psoas. Hands down. Curl the back toes. I'll take the Vinyasa. Each one of those poses is being performed with the breath. So the plank is the inhale, the chaturanga is the exhale, the up dog's the inhale, and the down dog's the exhale. All right, now we need to get that left leg forward. So let's inhale, lift the left leg up. Step it all the way forward and up between your knees. Good, this time the right elbow comes to the outside. Hands to Anjali Mudra. Twisting, gazing off to the left. Breathe. Exhale, unwind. Take the hands down on the back knee to the floor. Untuck the back toes, keep sinking the hips. Good, left hand to the side waist. Right arm's gonna come up. Maybe take a little back bend. Gravity assist. Good, exhale, bring the hands down. Curl the back toes under. Lift the back knee, step it up to the front. And fold. Inhale, take Utkatasana. And then from here, we're going to move to balance. I suggest bringing the hands to prayer heart. Look down at your toes, make sure they're pointed forward. Station more weight onto your left foot so your right ankle can cross on top of that leg. If your balance is off, stay here. Or plant both feet. The balance is pretty stable. Or if you want a challenge, hook the peace mudra around the big toe. Straighten out the left leg. And extend your right leg. Both feet down. All right, dance in Shiva. We're going to catch. We're leaning the weight onto the left leg. We're catching the right foot behind us. Lifting the left arm. This may be all you can do today. This is perfect. But if you want to go deeper, hinge and push the foot into your back knee. Slowly come up. Oops. Sounded great. I didn't hear anybody fall out. Can you take a breath? My heart started racing through that. We weren't even moving a lot. All right, bend the knees, hips back. Your hands will be in prayer. All right, lean the weight into the right foot. Stack your left foot. This is the external rotator of the head. choose to be here or both feet on the ground. Lace around the big toe. If you want to come to Padangusthasana A. By the way, a good modification for this pose is just holding the knee, standing tall. Okay, be wobbly. I got wobbly on that side too. Okay, spread the base of your right foot. Catch the left foot behind. Right on his back. And if you're ready. All right, so we weren't at a wall, but if you ever want to go to a wall, you can come into the pose, bring the arms up. And that way you're focused on the work here versus the balance. Totally fine. Same thing with this, right? Instead of worrying about latching around the big toe, you can stand at the wall, take your foot to it, and your arms can lift up. Or you can have one hand to the wall and be here in the modification. Same thing with dancing Shiva, right? You could do dancing Shiva using the wall. So please know, not all studios have all this wall space, and it's wonderful to have it. So when you're in a studio with a bunch of mirrors, they actually don't want you using the wall because they've been known to fall down. So be aware of that too. All right, let me check our time because I was hoping, ooh, I think we can do it. Before we do, go to the wall. Come down to your hands and knees. We're gonna try something crazy today. Because I haven't done it like a year. I didn't even practice this morning because I wasn't warmed up. It was just in my head like a good idea. Okay. So come down to forearms. So your elbows should be under the shoulders. All right, notice already how we get loose in the low back. So go ahead and let your belly flop. But then root the elbows and lift your head up. Yes, that's more of that cow tilt. And then exhale. Draw the navel in, hide the heart away, bow your head. Feeling that gap between the shoulder blades, feel that strength in your upper body. That's what we need for the pose we're going to build up to. And then inhale, cow. All right, this is what we don't want in the pose that really is there. Okay, so we need the engagement of the core. We need the engagement of the upper back. We need the engagement of the shoulders and the triceps and the arms. Good, do one more, inhale. This is where we don't want to be in the pose that we're building up for. We want to be more here with this action. All right, good. Now let that go enough just to step the feet back. It's okay if you go off the mat because I just did. So it's a forearm plank. Notice where you have the tendency to collapse. Is it your hips? Is it your thighs? Is it your core? Is it your shoulders? And then come down to the tops of the thighs and take a stance. This is another action that you could potentially take in the next pose that we're going to build up for. Okay, so go ahead and stretch back into extended child's pose. Before we come up and I explain it, we maneuver around the room. All right, let's slowly come up. So we haven't been doing yoga a lot. It's been a while, or if you don't feel like you have a lot of upper body strength, please don't feel like you have to do this, okay? Because women tend to be weaker in the upper body, and it takes time to build up the strength. And it does take time to build up body awareness.
I'm gonna call out my son right now. My son's been doing yoga with me since he was in my belly, but he hasn't done it in a really long time. And now he's gone through puberty, and I was having to help him with some exercises at school, and it had to be parental help. He could not do plank. He couldn't do a push-up. He was completely collapsing his shoulders like this. You cannot do a push-up or hold up your body weight like that, right? And no matter what I did to try to explain it, it wasn't computing. And I felt like, oh my God, how can you be my child? I don't know how to do plank. But he's just lost his body. So if you feel like your body awareness isn't right on, then again, what you're gonna do when we come to the wall, you're just gonna work on what we just did. You're gonna do the cat-cows in on forearms and knees, or you can do the forearm plank, and that's enough, okay? Just to build up the awareness and the strength factor. Okay, so I've been talking about, we've been in the Scorpio energy. And guess what? We have a Scorpion pose. Right? So we did one of them. One of those was downward scorpion. And sometimes teachers will say, keep the shoulder square. Sometimes they'll say, rock open. I like both. I see benefit in both. So I always try to give you a choice. Forearm stand is where you're not standing on your head, you're not standing on your hands, you're standing on your forearms. And it's called feathered peacock. So if you create the back bend element, that's scorpion. So you're creating like the shape of the scorpion tail. Okay, so if you're going to do this, I back away from the wall a few inches. And you want your elbows lined up like Sphinx, right? See how I'm engaging already? And then you lift up. You step 1 foot forward, find the wall. To go to scorpion, bring the feet down, arch the back, look forward towards your hands. You can just stay here and lean against the wall. And again, you don't even have to go up if that freaks you out. Because fear is a factor. So if fear is your block, it's okay. Just work on the body awareness and the action you need. And eventually, you'll feel the confidence to go up. So there's no pressure to go up. I'll make a round here behind this wall. Nice Camilla, it's beautiful. Camilla, do you use the wall normally? A lot of people don't.
I've done this in a long time. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I used to do it about
I've been doing yoga 20 years and I've never braved it away from the wall. I like the wall being there.
So I haven't done the scorpion at the wall, but I've done this for.
Yeah. Nice. And so if you want to do the back bend and create that scorpion tail, have some space between your fingertips at the wall.
How do you
It's got to be.
How do you get up there? Let me show you again.
And then there's that tarot.
There is, because you don't want to fall on your face. So it's just maintaining that action that you were building in your arms. Like, see, I've already got it engaged. And then the toes tuck, 1 foot steps forward, and then the feet go up. My head does not touch the floor.
It's the moment where you lift and then between the lift and the touching of the wall.
Yes. Yeah. But you need the foot to step forward in order to launch yourself up. And again, this is something, I share this a lot with students. In my journey of yoga, whenever I'm introduced to a fancy pose, I take all the mental notes, I try just enough in class, and then I take it home. And I'm on carpet. And I make sure no furniture is around. just play. A warm up, right? Warm up first, but then just play. Because there's something about the comfort factor.
You got it. You got it. You got it.
So close. You're right there. You're so close.
You're like there, you got it.
Yeah.
Kick
that foot.
Kick that foot.
It's the
There you go.
And then came down, right? Yeah, it came down.
So that's the part where, okay. When you kick too much with momentum, that's when we start focusing on legs and then we lose the awareness in the arms. So you are flying up, but it's finding the balance between kicking up and floating and stretching up. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I could.
It's that drive, that momentum that makes us kind of lose the action in the shoulders. And so it's just striking that balance, right, between effort and ease, right? That's the whole part of the yogic philosophy that we haven't talked about in a while, but I know Jen talked about it recently because it was in our newsletter. Effort and ease, striking the balance. You're so close.
I think it's confidence. You have to be confident that you're gonna.
Yeah, there's a level of
Shoulders.
confidence
Yeah.
and there's a level of facing the fear.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a fear factor in going upside down, no matter, well, I shouldn't say no matter what age you are. Young kids have no trouble with it. But the older we get and the taller we get, right, and the more
Age has a
conditioned we
lot to do
become, it's, it's a scary thing to just flip ourselves
Well,
upside down.
You're getting everybody stronger in their shoulders. We used to do it with Rhonda all the time.
Yeah,
And, she would show us these shoulders are really strong. And she'd say, push up with your shoulders. So I was
Yeah.
watching, you were right there.
yeah.
You're strong, you're strong. Yeah, not your head.
Yeah, you're strong because you kept it all the way up until it was that last foot that came up, and that's when you dropped.
Looked really
So
good.
it's just locking the upper body in to where it's supposed to be. And like I said, there is a comfort factor of doing it at home, and you can have someone spot you. Like, I haven't been walking around as much through the pandemic. I'm hoping once we turn the corner in the new year, I'll be able to walk around again and help people. But it's nice to have a spotter, so when you're kicking up and you're just shy of it, they can catch you. And then when you feel them catch you, then you go, oh yeah, shoulders, and then lock it back in. Yeah. And then obviously for the scorpion tail, you want more space. Now, we did it years ago, stacking up bolsters. That was I used to work with Corinne, who was very yin guard training, and she had 3 or 4 bolsters stacked. And so your hands were behind that. So when your legs kicked over, you landed on the bolsters, which was kind of nice. So that's another thing you could try at home.
I have seen those chairs, the inversion chair. I think that gives you a lot of confidence. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I brought that in when we did headstands.
Yeah, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, we had 2 of those at Half Moon. I only have 1 left.
I have
Barbara
one.
has 1 now.
Oh,
She
yeah.
took my second one.
Yay.
All right, so any more questions about that? It is fun.
Oh, I love it, but it's a lot of work. Like I practiced insurance scorpion for several years before I got it, and I did it for several years, but now it's probably been over a year since I tried it.
Me too, yeah.
But it is, like, the handstand is so much easier. I don't do handstand with my neck, but I will do it on the blocks if you don't have that fancy chair.
Right. Yeah, you can stack
You
up
can
blocks.
put the blocks under your shoulders, and then that became the same, like it's that chair.
Absolutely, yeah. I've never tried the forearm stand with blocks. I wonder if you could.
I don't know.
I don't know.
No,
But it
it's
takes a
not-
lot of work.
Yeah,
And they take them at home, not just once or twice a week.
exactly. Because, yeah, that pose I usually teach just a couple times a year, and I haven't taught it in at least a year.
Yeah.
It's been a while. And that's just because of what we've been going through. What all we've been going through, people have not been keeping up their practice,
or they need to be easier on their practice, because life is challenging right now. Like, we never know when we wake up in the morning what we're gonna be hit with. So, haven't been doing any of the fancy poses for that reason. But they fun. Take it home with you. Try it out. And we're gonna take legs up the wall. So to do legs up the wall, if you're not familiar with it, you can lay it on the side of the mat, the corner of your mat, where your hips are touching the wall. And then you roll your back to the mat and send your legs up. And January, well, I'm not sure. It'll be December or January with the monthly restorative. I'm going to bring all the sandbags in. And we'll be doing postures with the sandbags. Because usually if we have sandbags, they can be placed on the feet here, which is really grounding. So go ahead and close your eyes. Find a comfortable position for your arms to rest in. Wanted to do this pose since we just had the full moon and the eclipse, because sometimes it can disrupt our sleep. And this pose is medicinal for that. It's calming for the mind and the nervous system. It's a very restful position. It's great for circulation. Helps to aid the heart. Just want you to rest and digest now. The way to shift back into the parasympathetic nervous system, this pose is naturally getting you there, but you can also use the observation or the control of your breath to assist. slow down. And maybe been able to distill the thoughts from the mind. Maybe been able to neutralize some emotion. I do suggest if you've had insomnia that you try this pose for 15 to 20 minutes before you go to bed tonight. See if it helps you get a restful night's sleep. Let's go ahead and bend the knees or slide the feet down the wall. Roll over to one side. Come up and take a seat. You're welcome to sit with backs and forwards against the wall. So just know this practice we did today was warming us up for that final position. We needed to have open hips. We needed to have the legs opened up. We needed the psoas to release for the back bend. We did the heart opening poses. We did planks. So we did chaturangas. We did tabletops. We did the cat-cows in order to really tap into the upper body strength. So just know when you're warming up for a pose at home, you don't want to overly tax the muscles that are going to be needed the most in that final pose. If we had worked on shoulders the whole time, they may have been fatigued. Just remember to keep checking in with yourself. Now let's close out our practice by sealing the palms together at the heart. Let's chant Om together once. Take a deep breath in. Om is the root word for Amen. That means, and so it is, and let it be so. May we check in throughout the day, throughout the week, and in the future towards our pain body, making sure that we contain it instead of running away. The light within me honors and bows to the love and light within each of you. Namaste.